If you want to peek this fast, keep watching. Tarkov's movement is arguably the most important part of PvP, more so than aim, but it's the last thing players seem to work on. By the end of this video, you'll have a good idea on how to improve your PvP. Couple things to cover today so you can master movement. Starting with 1. Understanding player model size relative to your surroundings. 2. Understand velocity and inertia distance. 3. Learning how to smoothly transition move states. 4. Advanced jumping. And finally 5. Jiggle peek or circle strafe. I'm going to have a keyboard overlay on some of these clips. If you pay attention, I have my leans swapped. My Q leans right and my E leans left. So don't be surprised when you see me lean with the opposite strafe key. Starting with number 1, understanding your model relative to the world. Basically, you have to know approximately how wide or tall your PMC is relative to your surroundings. You want to be able to navigate the map without getting stuck. This is because there are often times where you'll have to watch an angle while you're on the move. And if you run into something, your velocity will go to 0, meaning you'll have to build your speed back up thanks to inertia. If you get caught before you can regain your maximum velocity, you become a much easier shot. If you're having troubles conceptualizing your character model, just imagine backing up a car with no mirrors. What you can do is you can go into an offline raid and practice checking and clearing each angle, making sure not to crash into any objects when retreating backwards or strafing left and right. Next step is to understand how far your player model leans so you don't do this. You can implement leaning into your offline angle clearing exercise. But other than that, there's no real way to practice this on its own. Just utilize leaning often in your fights and eventually it'll come to you. This concept sounds simple, but it's a lot harder than it looks for newer players, as Tarkov player models are exceptionally fat relative to the world compared to some other FPS games. You have to master this before you can jiggle peek correctly. Hopefully one day you'll be able to navigate the map blind. Okay, moving on to velocity. Because of how the inertia system works, it takes a while to ramp up to your maximum velocity. So you'll have to learn approximately how long it takes to reach full speed from 0. If you peek or sprint out before you reach that max velocity, you'll be a slow and easy to hit target. You don't really have to grind this, just be cognizant of your positioning. If you want to swing out, go in the opposite direction first, so you can create a little runway to build speed. Then wide swing out when you're at full speed. If you want to sprint out, just run in a circle before you sprint out the angle. Number 3. Learning how to smoothly transition move states. Practice transitioning from sprint into lean ADS and then back to sprint as fast as possible. If you mess up, you'll notice one of 3 things. 1. You might initiate a slide. 2. Your PMC makes a swivel noise and you get kinda stuck. Or 3. Your PMC doesn't sprint even though your shift is being held down. The first and easiest thing you have to fix is changing directions without stopping and accidentally initiating a slide. You pretty much never want to slide in Tarkov. To fix this, just make sure you never let go of W until you've already redirected your momentum into a turn. Second and third is a bit more complicated, but they're the same issue. While you're practicing, you'll notice sometimes your guy doesn't sprint even though you're pressing shift. This is because you tried to input shift during your ADS animation. If you've played the game for a couple hundred hours, I'm sure you've had fights where you have stamina, but your PMC just doesn't want to sprint on your first key press on shift, causing you to die. You're probably panicking and mashing your keys. Which is also why you have the second problem, the swivel. If you swivel into a sprint, this is the same issue, but you've mashed your sprint out. If you had held it down, you wouldn't be sprinting. You want to avoid this because swiveling is a lot of frames to be standing still. It's enough time to get shot. And that's why we're practicing this transition. You're learning the timing for these button presses, so you can burn it into your muscle memory to never press shift during your ADS animation. Okay, once you're pretty good at these 3 things, it's time to move on to the fun stuff. Jumping and jiggle peeking, or circle strafing. Jumping in any direction with your gun up allows you to shoot. Sprint jumping does not. However, if you chain your second jump with your sprint jump, your gun will stay up for your second jump. So you can sprint jump forward, turn towards the direction of your enemy, hit the corresponding directional strafe key, and shoot midair. But there's more to this. Holding a direction at the end of your jump will transfer your momentum towards that direction. So you can strafe back into cover if you're not already dead. You can slightly influence your direction midair with your movement keys. So jumping left while holding left will put you further than jumping left and holding right. So you cannot hold the direction you want to land on right away. Otherwise you'll lower the distance and arc of your jump. You have to wait for the very last moment to switch directions. You can utilize both of these to jump peek and shoot, or momentum transfer to bait and get information. You probably notice when you land, not only can you momentum transfer, but your gun also comes up right away. So if you know the map well, you can use the elevated surfaces to stop your character mid-jump. You can then no inertia change directions while having your gun up firing accurately. I rarely encounter a situation where I need to utilize this, but the option is always there for you.
Right side? He has a target left.
Okay, but how do we practice jumping? Because missing the timing on your jumps can be deadly. 2 ways. For jump peeking, go offline mode and find road markings. You can use this as a landing strip so you know you're going in a straight line. And then the rest is just muscle memory. For elevation cancelling your jump, you can just jump onto random platforms while you're in raid that are really thin or small. So you can learn to accurately gauge how far you need to be to perfectly land on objects at various heights. I honestly haven't mastered utilizing jumps in my gameplay. If you want to see insane plays with jumps, then check out Breakbot on YouTube and Twitch. There are plenty of clips of them using jump peaks and elevation cancels, link in comments and description. Now on to the last thing we have today, circle strafing. Many guides out there tell you to just WASD in circles around a corner. But this is not how you utilize this mechanic. Doing a perfect circle exposes your body for a long duration and requires a lot of space. You won't be able to use it in tight spaces like doorways. So how do we solve this downside to circle strafing? We use only the edge of the circle. Build up your strafe to max speed, tap S like you would in a circle strafe, but let go fast, and switch directions. This will allow you to transfer your momentum to the opposite strafe key without losing speed. If you have a good feeling on the timing, it should feel like your character starts a circle strafe but suddenly accelerates in the opposite direction. If you mess up, it'll feel like a normal circle strafe but tighter. Which isn't bad, but smaller the window to punish you, the better. If you mess up real bad, it'll look something like this. This happens when you miss your S key completely. Try your best to avoid this as it's the worst possible outcome. When done properly, you only need to jiggle once or twice to get information. Unlike Valorant and CSGO where players have the discipline to recognize the jiggle and not fire on reaction, Tarkov players will dump their mag into your jiggle. This is because of 2 factors. 1. They're new and weak at PvP, or 2. Due to netcode and not wanting to die to peeker's advantage, they have 2 choices, unpeek or mag dump. Usually they'll choose the mag dump because it's the more aggressive option. So if you jiggle and you don't see or hear them fire, then it's most likely safe enough to swing the angle. Circle strafing this way will free up your fingers enough to lean while you're strafing. I swapped my keys, but if you don't want to do that, you can also try holding down 2 keys with 1 finger. It'll allow you to lean out your head so you can do a quick pre-fire. Do not aim down sights. ADSing will slow you down and we don't want that. You have a very limited range to actually kill because of how your barrel clears before your field of view does. So if your opponent is too far away, you won't be able to see them. Which is why you need a deep understanding of how wide your player model actually is relative to your surroundings while you're leaning. If you can master pointing your barrel out the corner to the next angle even though you don't actually see the angle on your screen, you have an unpunishable pre-fire, which is strong but honestly not very accurate. Do what you will with this technique as with everything in this video. Use all of this information to form your own strategy and playstyle. As always, thanks for watching. This video took a bit longer than usual because I'm simultaneously working on a new Tarkov hardware video. I got a tiny bit of hate comments for ratting in my rat video, so it's time for the opposite end of the spectrum to leave your hate comments, crying about jumping and fast peeking. Drop a like, sub with bell, my Twitch is here. I'll be streaming more often soon. Been really busy with some stuff lately, and it might show on my channel in the future. We'll see what happens. See you in a couple days.